All right, everybody, welcome again. Another edition of Late Night on Base. I'm your host, Bill the Bull, back at it today. It's Wednesday, May 13th, and we have a really good show. First of all, though, appreciate everyone tuning in. Markets aren't sendy, but you guys are still showing up and averaging really good responses the last couple weeks. Few thousand per show, so let's keep it up. Appreciate each and every one of you. This episode for the month of May is brought to you by our sponsor, Swap Royale. If you haven't done so already, it's daily competitions, trading competitions, stocks, crypto. They have a bunch of different assets. Play free and win real money. Download on the iOS store today. Shout out to them. All right, so today's going to be a cool one. We got the team from Xmaquina on. I've had them on before in the past, and they are, crushing the robotic field. They've been a part of the robotics ecosystem before many were talking about it. So, Mauricio and team and Mercury, who I haven't spoken before, will be joining us in a few minutes. So we'll chat about, their upcoming TGE, which is important, but we will be talking about more along the lines of where robotics will be in the future, how things are going to shape and evolve. So looking forward to that one. Then we also have the team from Atlas. They're doing some cool shit in the AI field as well. Basically, I believe the CEO, Phillips, creating the first world's first professional orbital sport race, real-time satellite. Just some really cool things. And speaking of cool things, I think the news of the day, it has to be the I'm not talking about Trump or any of that stuff. It has to be, this is a tech show, right? And so all the innovations in tech, it's got to be this. It's got to be the story of the guy who lost the personal key for his Bitcoin wallet in 2015. He had over 5 BTC, 11 years. He had 5 BTC, and he lost it. And using Claude, they got it back. That is insane. 5 BTC using Claude, was able to recover some sort of private key for his wallet by giving the entire hard drive to Claude. Insane, man. This guy just literally made $400,000. Claude regenerates the key in an hour. It's stories like this that just keeps me being like, damn, when is AGI happening? When are, the robots going to just basically take over life? Because that's where things are going, man. That's where things are going. I think we're in early stages, and it's scary. It's scary. I mean, I think it's scary, but it is the reality. So life is changing, as you know. So I guess the best position to be in, and that's why we're creating this show, Late on a Base, right? We talk AI apps, tech on chain, because we want to prepare the normal world as to what's going on. The normal world is not understanding what's going on. We're in tech and crypto. You probably do understand. You see what's going on. But your Aunt Sally down the street, your neighbor Johnny, Billy from the block, they don't know it's possible. Not even getting to mention what robotics are going to do, and eventually that whole timeline where you're going to have physical robots like operating on you. So the goal of this show is to prepare you of what's going to come and tell cool stories while we're at it. And that's what we do. And so that was literally, my mind was just blown. It's like, damn. I mean, GG to the guy who got his keys back. But life's crazy, man. Life is crazy. Other news of the day, and shout out to, again, we have been averaging at least 2,000 viewers per stream. If you haven't done so already, please actually, you don't need to follow. Actually, you should follow, because I post banger content and I'm a Chad. But reshare this, like it, send it to your people. 2,000 at least. Otherwise, my mom thinks I'm a loser. And I'm going for that big sponsorship money. I like Swapper out. They're dope. But I need that big money, baby. Come on. And in order to get that big money, we got to get those numbers up. And I appreciate each and every one of you. Shout out to the 200 plus so far tuning in. We'll get back to those numbers later. But yeah, so anyways, it's just interesting to see how this is going. Other news of the day, Trump's in China. Cool. Not really care to talk about that. I think the markets, it's funny. Everyone's calling for a bear market or like the massive drop. I think they're going to absolutely get crushed. I just don't see how anything, maybe aliens are coming. It'd be interesting to see how robots and aliens would interact. That'd be an interesting convo. But anyways, I digress. Nothing else really to talk about. So I think it's time. To bring on Uber Chads on the show. We got two of them. We got Mauricio and Mercury. Welcome to the show, friends. How are we doing?
Hey, how's it going? Great to be back, Bill. Thanks a lot for having us.
Yeah, been a while. Mercury, I never met you before. How are you doing? I like the PFP. It looks very robotic and like
it is my creation, actually. Yeah. I've created a list of like 1,000 NFTs for the community, and this is one of them. So I'm super excited about this. But besides this, we're pretty busy for the TG, so super excited to be on the call.
Interesting. It's so funny because I've had Mauricio on the show and a fan of what you've done. Actually, for a while, I've been a fan of it. And I didn't know anything of what was going on in the latest. And then I got randomly pitched by one person on your team. I think her name's Jessica. Yeah. So how is that service? Like, I'm just like in emails like, yes, Mauricio is obviously it's through some service that you probably mass send it. And I just laughed. I was like, oh, I actually know who Mauricio is. So first of all, tell me about that service. How does it work? Like, you just pitch pitch you people?
Yeah, so Jessica's our third co-founder, so it's three of us, and she's just a machine, right? Whenever I need something done, we just go. We need exposure, we need distribution, we need a video, we need better something, and she'll get taken care of. She basically just found some platform called Podpitch, where you basically can. It's AI powered, but you can do mass outreach to a lot of different podcast hosts. So I think you were indexed in there as a podcast host, and and here we are again now. But we were speaking personally, so that was random that it kind of connected again.
That is. And before we get into the Xmaquina, I want to talk into that. What's the quality of hosts like though? Because to be honest with you, the pitches that I get, like I've had a couple, but dude, it's just like literally boring as fuck. And like from now on, I'm gonna charge these people if they want to come on my show because I literally don't really care. But like, how are the quality of hosts for you guys?
Not bad. We got a lot in the pipeline. Like, obviously it's launch time, so we need to get all the founders kind of out and talking about our vision and what we've been building for the last 2.5 years. So it's been decent actually. Yeah, I can't complain. I mean, if we're with you here, if it got you as a host, pretty solid podcast.
But the question would be then, though, like you're a very crypto robotic firm. Obviously, Deuce is on. I believe you're launching through Where's the launch going to be? It's on
Virtuals
virtual.
and
So
Aerodrome.
yeah, so it's very crypto native. So are all these guests though, like the audience? Because it's very fascinating to me. Obviously, in this AI robotic age, distribution's the name of the game. That's why I'm creating my show. But if these people are they crypto native audiences? Because I don't really feel like the people that come to me, their audiences aren't crypto native. And so if I'm
Mhm.
building a product in crypto and I want to sell to the crypto world, but my audience is like, I don't know, like Silicon or just some random people, like how does that work for you?
Well, I feel like robotics, like our product kind of transcends crypto in a way because it's a product that people want that don't even like it. That's when you build a good product, right? In crypto, it's like when people don't really need like the token or the crypto side of things. They just want that access or that product without really needing the crypto when you're onboarding people, essentially. And I guess Deus, by giving exposure to like what a lot of techies that aren't even crypto native or crypto related want access to, that you kind of open up the whole tech market. You know what I mean?
Interesting. So
Yeah, I mean, if
why don't we just then start with like the basics of Xmaquina? Because I think if it transcends outside of crypto, and I think robotics is the next wave, and I think virtuals is obviously championing themselves on base, at least in the robotics sector. And you guys are, now people are starting to understand AI agents. Obviously, everyone knows ChatGPT, the normal people. Now it's moving to AI agents, which still the normal people don't understand. But then, in my opinion, after AI agents, it's robotics. So, talk to me. What is Ex Machina?
yeah, so if from like high level overview, really easy to understand. It's essentially uh, infrastructure to open up the private robotics markets. We use crypto rails to make it accessible worldwide. So if you usually you're seeing all this pre-IPO hype right now with AI, Anthropic, OpenAI, all these AI companies that are just going ballistic, and people, normal retail doesn't really have access to these deals, right? I feel like robotics is a lagging indicator for AI. So what is happening there will be happening in a few years in robotics, and we're trying to like sort of front run that market and accumulate stakes in some of these top, like the world's top leading robotics companies, and acquiring these assets as a DAO, right? So we're acquiring these assets governed like through an open governance and allowing people to decide where we deploy that capital. So we had these five different auctions, public auctions, sorry, where VCs and retail participate on the same terms. And they essentially swapped USDC for the Davis token. And with those Davis tokens, pre-TG, they've been non-transferable, but we enabled people to be able to vote with them. So we've been basically governing and deploying capital. We now have investments in 7 of the world's leading humanoid companies. This includes Figure AI, Aptronic, Mercury. Maybe you want to jump on and mention some of the
we have
companies that we've been.
Yeah, we have 1x. Figure AI, by the way, right now, as we speak, they are showing a demonstration that will last about 8 hours. In a
full
fact,
full work
yeah,
shift, right?
yeah, it's completely autonomous with collaboration between robots. So it's actually pretty impressive. So Figure AI is one of our position, is one of my favorite of them. Aptronic, amazing company based in Austin, strong ties with Google DeepMind. Pretty crazy what they do. Also focus on the manufacturing industries, working with automotive. You have 1x. Their positioning is slightly different. They are looking to target the home, like more retail, like a different angle, like more for people and directly in their homes. So it's going to be slightly different. We have Neura. Neura is a German leader. So most of those companies are US based, but you have a couple of Europeans one, and obviously you have many Chinese companies who are leaders in the space of humanoid robots. We have Agility. Agility is also pretty crazy. They are working with Amazon. We've seen the demonstration making a ton of progress. So yeah, I mean those companies are really and interesting, very rare, extremely difficult to get access to. The funding story, I mean, the origin story was Mauricio and I wanted to invest in those companies in the first place. We wanted to have access. We figured that it was like, and I did a couple of SPV before, even in the crypto space, like Bitpanda in Europe. So I was very familiar with gaining access, but the amount of money to deploy in those deals was quite huge. So basically, you needed to aggregate more funds with people, and there is actually no better way to aggregate capital and transfer capital than crypto. Like, you can think of Tether USDT as a super dollar. It's not just the dollar, it's just on steroid. Like, it's just more, it's faster, it's programmable, you have so many capabilities around it. So crypto kind of, for capital, it's just superpower for capital. So that's the let's say the link between crypto and robotics is, for us, like using the best of crypto and targeting the best companies in humanoid robots.
Well,
So
Yeah,
that's
but
the
then
first part, right?
it makes sense that you're able to use crypto
Yeah,
rails to
yeah,
access a global market, right? Obviously, that's what crypto does. It enables rails for
exactly.
everywhere around the world to one currency, global currency that allows access and opportunity to deal flow that most can't do. So from what we're gathering, you guys are able to then aggregate this money, invest in some of the top projects. So then and you guys have already done that. So my question now would be, what exactly, and you've already raised, you said 5 rounds. What exactly is this TGE coming up? What is what's different than what you've raised in the past if the money has already been raised?
yeah, so we still have capital that hasn't been deployed. So we're sitting on like almost 2.5, maybe a little bit more, maybe or close to 3 million that we still are deploying. So we're actively having governance proposals and sourcing deals as the North Star Council, which is the DAO working group that is in charge of like sourcing these deals, speaking with brokers, etc. So we're still going to be deploying capital. And then after at TGE, this token kind of becomes liquid. So it's sort of like a liquid index, if you will. It's like yeah, you're basically trading an asset that is giving you exposure to all of these different companies. And then from there, we're introducing RCM protocols. So we've already kind of introduced the general concept of it, it's robotics capital markets. But essentially, this will be a platform where we tokenize these SPVs. You've seen maybe pre-stocks and X stocks and stuff like that that are just tokenizing the different companies. So we'll do something similar, but for private robotics, and we want to build this niche. So if you want to trade anything robotics, you can just come to Xmaquina and we'll have all of these private markets. And what we do there is essentially you pair, very similar to how what Virtuals does, right? So Virtuals grabs the virtual token, they pair it against an agent, and then there's a market right there. We want to do something similar, but like you pair Deus against this private robotics company before it's pre-IPO, and then this will be a bit different from the Xmaquina, right? Because Xmaquina is like a bucket of them. It's a compiled, selected portfolio of companies. We'll do sub-DAOs, which are basically just governing one position, and they'll have a NAV, so like a net asset value. What's that priced at the time of the token's trading? That might trade at a premium or not, depending on the market conditions. So it's sort of like, yeah, like unlimited, like 24/7 markets for these private robotics companies. For regulatory purposes, there might be some restrictions. We might do some token gating. So yeah, so then that will come next. So that'll be really exciting. It's like a revenue generating protocol for the DAO. Fees will flow down back to the DAO, and the DAO can then use distribute some for staking rewards and others to acquire more assets. So it becomes like an engine. So this DAO keeps growing. Users keep trading, and then those fees are basically growing the whole ecosystem as a whole. So it's like a compounding loop. And yeah, we've been building this for some time, so it's excited to finally get the token out there. We got some really good launch partners. I don't know if you saw yesterday, but Virtuals and Aerodrome. So we'll be the first Virtuals launch with Aerodrome. Usually they've been using Uniswap or other dexes, but it's like, yeah, we're bringing the two together. So that's really exciting. Really fond of the base ecosystem, and I think it's a good time to be at base.
Yeah, I mean, one of the things that I like about my job is I just see, I do the show Monday through Thursday, and so I probably, to be honest with you, I probably do the most shows on the base ecosystem by far. I don't know a single person who does as many live streams. It's just not possible. But I meet the best of the best builders, people like yourselves, are just building such incredible things, and they're all building on base. You know, this is not just a base show anymore, but everyone's coming to base. So let me ask you guys this, because more than just the project, and I'm excited for you guys, and I think there's no doubt you're going to do well. I want to simplify this for normal people, and the whole industry needs to branch out of crypto. And if we want to get to where we want to be, we have to target the normal people, and they need to know what's coming. So, you know, with robotics in general, talk to me. Where do you see robotics? Like, when do you see the day that a robot's going to perform surgery on a person? When do you see a robot actually being used in the physical world, overtaking jobs, gardening, you know, any sort of blue collar jobs? When is that day going to happen?
Yeah, I think those are different questions. I think performing a surgery or like at least certain parts of a surgery could already be done better by a robot than by a human. The harder tasks are like general purpose because that's like a purpose robot for one purpose, right? It'll be doing that one
It's
surgery. General
application
purpose,
specific. Yeah,
yeah,
application specific.
exactly,
Yeah,
exactly. So
application
those are,
specific. Yeah, and
yeah. Go
it's
ahead, jump in.
yeah, application specific use cases are actually simpler to deliver. So strangely enough, even like surgery, like in 3 years, I mean, already today, there are surgeries that are being done by robots autonomously, but like more complex ones, 3 to 4 years, it will be the case. You will still be, it doesn't mean that the surgeon will be replaced though, because there's still somebody who is liable to making decisions during the surgery, and it's not going to be the robots, right? So the surgeon will basically oversee multiple robots doing operations, but he will still be there and he will still be responsible in case of there is a problem. Like machines
Yeah,
cannot be
I think,
accountable, so that's one thing.
I think,
Yeah,
I think in 10 years, people
yeah, they
would
will
not
trust
want to have
more.
a surgery,
Of
would not
course,
want to have surgery from a human, right?
they will
Because
trust more robots for sure. Yeah,
precision, right? Precision and so on. Like maybe you could have a small scar if a robot does it and it does insertion precisely, whereas a human can have more human error. So there'll become a point not long from now that it'll be the other way around. Like people want like most of the stuff done by the machine.
Do you think, though,
yeah.
that poses like the day that comes that robots are starting to be more commonplace? And, you know, you see futuristic films. Put away the investment perspective. I know that you're in the business, you're bullish, but just think about it from, like, say you had you had no vested interest. Do you think the world's going to be a scarier place or not in the future when robots start becoming more of a household thing?
I
Yeah,
think it
for
has to do with the economic value that they generate and where that goes. If it becomes basically centralized into a few entities, corporations, and parties, then it's not going to be good. But if people can have ownership, like universal basic ownership over universal basic income, for example, then I think it could be really good. Obviously, the AI getting loose and the Terminator story, that's a whole separate topic. But I'm just talking about from like the
mm,
economic perspective.
the main risk is governments, to be honest. I don't think it's like if you have like three companies, I'm not so afraid. But if there is like one government who wants to take control of all the robots, then of course it poses a problem of freedom, like because it can be used as police, but it can also be used to spy on people, and there are tons of problems that can happen in case the government falls into the wrong hands. Because this is always the stupidity sometimes of politics, is like they create a lot of privacy infringing laws. They forget that then you can have a horrible dictator taking power, and then basically you give all the power to this guy. So that is very scary with robots, for sure. But
Yeah.
it will also be, we have to consider one thing. It's this technology is also being pushed by the Chinese government, because they have a huge problem in terms of demography, and there's not enough young people to take care of the elder. So there's no way around this. They need robots to be able to help and to take care of the old people, so that the young people can still work. Otherwise, because the pyramid of age is like It's inverted. So there's no choice in reality. We need robots. They come at the perfect time for humanity because of the declining population, and it poses, of course, some risks. I mean, like as every technology, there is a lot of pros and a lot of cons. It's unavoidable.
But there's the economy, there's two things, right? It could be like an open machine economy that could blossom, that could be good for everybody, and that could be like a closed one. For example, like Tesla is an example that we see right now, right? There's already autonomous vehicles driving around. If we do business models where that are inclusive, like take that same model but apply to robot as a service, whatever it might be. Let's just use the Tesla autonomous driving. If you're able as a person to have your assets, your car, and all these plug into these, and you maybe pay like a fee to that company that's managing, but you can put these assets and have ownership in the robot economy rather than a monopoly and a bunch of companies owning all the taxis that are driving around the cities that take the jobs and do all this. Then it could be good, right? So you could basically acquire machines, and your machines are your assets. I'm going to deploy a robot here. I'm going to deploy a robot into this warehouse, into this network, into this. Then it could be really, really, really good, right? Because it's abundance, and you're generating revenue for machines working rather than yourself. So it could become something very cool. But the power structures are the issue, right? I don't think the big guys are going to want everybody to be benefiting from everything. They always greed and so on. So I think that's the biggest hurdle as well, besides the other stuff,
For sure.
besides the like ethical stuff.
Yeah, I mean it's a world that is constantly changing day by day. Before I have some more questions, right now we have 2,200 people tuning in. I think it's a good time to push and showcase your TV video. If I haven't even watched it, so I kind of want to see it myself. Let's pull that up real quick. And let's see.
In early 2024, we were just a few builders who saw what was coming and refused to wait for permission. Humanoid robots, AI-driven automation, a new machine age. Problem is, they locked it behind corporate walls. And so, we went around them. It started underground, spread fast. A global, ownerless movement. Capital pooled by conviction. Decisions made by those who showed up. At first, we said we did too early. Then the robots left the lab. Breakthroughs stacked. Capital rushed in. Valuation surged. While the world fought for access, we were already inside. Today, the gates fall. Robotics capital markets, open, liquid, permissionless. The humanoid age has begun. And this time, it doesn't belong to them. It belongs to all of us. Prepare for dues.
All right. Deuce will be next May 27, 2026. Okay, so let me pick your brain real quick. Obviously, right now, people are always looking at the next opportunities. Stock market, AI stocks, there's different AI plays that data centers were really good. From your perspective and what your fund has done, because you guys do invest in the top robotics, what part of the robotics companies do you feel have the most value going forward in the next 2 to 5 years?
Yeah, that's a good question. Mercury, do you want to start?
I mean, we have a thesis that humanoid robots are going to be the largest industry, because it's not just about, it's basically replacing but also augmenting human labor. So of course you will replace some human in some positions, but you will also completely expand. It's like suddenly you double your population. It technically that's what it could do. You have as many humanoid as human, you double the size of your economy in terms of production, not necessarily consumption, but production for sure. So it is the largest, and in the next 10 years we will see that it will definitely be the most valuable kind of machines. So we think the most value will be there. In the meantime, though, obviously in the AI ecosystem, you have indeed, like, data centers are super interesting. Like, you have many companies who are booming. You have an IPO that is, I think, next week, but Cerebras, which is about the like having new kind of processors. So they
I
like,
think the
of course,
question is what humanoid companies you think will be the most
you might,
valuable.
And
yeah,
not specific companies. Just what are you looking
Uh,
for
yeah,
in a company when you deploy capital? Because that
yeah,
is
yeah.
something people would like to know.
For sure, the reason why we picked, for instance, I mean, the way we picked, I mean, we created a list, and then the DAO members, they voted. So it was not just us. What we are responsible for is actually to do some level of due diligence, making sure that we have the best deals. So of course we do some level of analysis, and if we take the example of Figure AI, they are extremely fast at making progress. Definitely, the AI is pretty amazing. They are building Helix, which is their own physical AI system, and which is pretty groundbreaking. And of course, capital. We, as a DAO, it's clear that the DAO will not invest in like new small humanoid robots company. We believe that the capital needed is so huge that we will only bet in the tier ones, which are private. So basically, everything which is private. Tesla is obviously a humanoid play, but they have other things. But if you look at Figure AI, Aptronic, Agility, Neura, pretty much 1x, it's going to be like 85, 90% humanoid robots. So they're deeply
yeah.
focused on this space, right? Deeply focused, well capitalized,
Yeah.
innovating constantly. That's what we are looking for.
Yeah, I think you don't need to go searching crazy, right? Because it's all private and it's all you just gotta see who is in the lead right now, right? What are the blue chips that have the most likeliness of one or two of these becoming the next Apples, the next Microsoft of the world, replacing a lot of the labor, right? So we look at that, like who has that potential. They're all backed by Amazon, Jeff Bezos, all the biggest funds in the world are already backing these guys. It's not like they're small companies. Like for example, Figure is a $40 billion valuation. Uptronic is 5 billion. So you're looking at like between 5 to 40 billion. So they're like mature companies, and we don't go past that. Like let's just try to pick the winners, the ones that are leading right now. That have proven track records and good teams. Like for example, Uptronic's coming from NASA roots, so that robot's been in the building in the making for a really long time. Like, yeah, so there's no need to like go try to find like what some would call like low caps. We're just trying to get the best of the best, and I think that's a strategy. And then there's a few different things, right? There's the manufacturers, the hardware manufacturers themselves, and then there's also the brain play, right? Like the ones building the software for the general purpose humanoids. There's a couple companies that we're looking at next. Basically to bring to the DAO. So there's field AI, there's physical intelligence, and there's skilled AI. Those are the guys that are kind of leading in the US. And yeah, so try to get a bit of exposure across the stack. We really focus at first on like the ones that are automating for industry and like warehouse, like Aptronic, Figure, and so on. Agility, for example. But then we have a couple plays for the home, like Neo, for example. 1x is more for the home because there's a market for that as well. So we try to just be balanced, and we don't do these decisions ourselves. What we do is Mercury, for the most part, does a lot of research, reports, and deep dives on all these different companies. We publish them, we share them in the forum, and in discussions for the DAO. We have community calls and so on. And then people are able to then vote on like what their favorite, but we try to give them the information that they need to make educated decisions. And then we have like this weighted vote where people choose the top ones that we want us to prioritize the source, and then we go and try to find deals. The North Star Council, that sub-DAO working group, and tries to source the deals. And when the deal comes, then we make a proposal, and the DAO votes on yes or no. For the most part, all the proposals on the robotics companies have been approved except for one. It was quite interesting. This was Foundation Robotics, and that was because it was defense-focused humanoids. So it was an American company who's working on defense humanoids. It was a bit controversial. We just thought it was a good opportunity for the DAO. Our job is to just, if something comes that we
Bring
think could
deal.
be good for could be good for the DAO and token holders as a whole, we bring it and then we let the DAO decide. So that was the only one that has not passed to date, but it was interesting to see nevertheless.
Well, I think it's great that you have a DAO that feels a part of the success of your project. That's how communities form. That's how community grows, and the burden shouldn't just be on a few select people. And so, Mercury, Mauricio, our time is done. We got to wrap things up, but two things: we're gonna have a couple clips made for the show to help further distribution. Invited guests to my show. I have a lot of people who want to be on the show, so the fact is, if I invite you on, it's because I think you're going to do really, really well, and I appreciate you guys, and I think you guys are absolutely going to crush it. Any last words, man, before we wrap things up?
No, just thank you so much for having us. Always great to be on. Yeah, loving the base ecosystem. Thanks for everything you do to kind of bring light to it.
Appreciate it. All right, guys, Mercury, Mauricio, when the clips are up, and actually we'll clip this as well and put it into a podcast over on Spotify. We'll tag you, and then you can share it to your community as well. So appreciate you guys, and look forward to TG.
This is awesome.
Amazing. Thanks a lot.
All right, guys.
Take care.
Mauricio and Mercury from Xmaquina. Before we get to Philip from Atlas Cup, we got to play a word from our sponsor for the month, and that is Swap Royale. Let's... gotta make sure the sponsors feel the love. You know what I'm saying, guys? And shout out to the over 3,000 people tuning in live late on base. All right, where is this video? Swap Royale. Where is this video? Hopefully, I have it. Shit, might not be here. Well, Swap Royale, I owe you a video. Yeah, sorry, Swap Royale. I'll get you next time. But check out Swap Royale if you haven't done so already. Daily games, daily competitions, live on the iOS store. All right, so now let's bring on a new guest to the show who's doing something really interesting, and that's Philip Hoover. Philip, my friend, how are you doing today, sir?
Yeah, I'm doing great, Bill. Thanks for having me on.
Yeah, no, pleasure to have you on. Let me make sure we got this this little banner. We got to make sure we do it proper for you, sir. Let's see, scroll across. All right. So talk to me, Philip. Right now we have over 3,000 plus people tuning in, and we're a very crypto native, tech oriented audience. What's like, I think many haven't heard about Atlas Cup. So let's just start from the basics.
New, so yeah.
Yeah. So let's start with the basics. What exactly are you building with Atlas Cup?
Yeah, I'm introducing professional sports to space. So think America's Cup meets F1 in low Earth orbit, uncrewed, state-of-the-art satellites racing each other at 17,000 miles an hour. It's the fastest sport in history when it happens. So I come from the space industry. I spent about a decade doing everything from maneuverable platforms to launch to in-space optics. I'm an attorney by trade. I've done all the licensing, all the contract types around all this environment. And there's no reason we can't do this today, right? So we have 60 companies building maneuverable platforms. We've got all the optics on board. We've got Overwatch capabilities. We've got ground-based track. I'm going to stitch together the best of the space industry, combine it with the best of the content production distribution world, and I'm going to go create the next generation of sport.
Ambitious.
Yep. It's an insane idea, but the crazy thing is it's entirely doable. All the things I need to go make this happen exist today. So I don't have to build anything, launch anything, fly anything, license anything, insure anything. I don't have to do any of that. All these things that capture the risk profile of deep tech in space don't apply to us. Everything I need is commercially available. So I get to put on my lawyer hat and my businessman hat and basically sit back, cut vendor deals, cut partnership deals, and go off and go let everyone do what they already are doing and doing well. And I'm just using it in a new way. And I think this is part of how the space industry is totally changing right now, right? We're going from this point of building out infrastructural capability to the point of having it, right? We now have a scaled industrial base that's able to go off and go do things. And that allows people like me to go build application layers on top of that base. And I think that it's going to be a really interesting period of time here in the next 5 years where we're going to see other companies looking at, hey, look, here's what the ecosystem can do. What can you do with that? What can you go be creative about and build on top of it? And that's where we come in.
So building something that's basically a new market that has never been done before is ambitious, and also, for a lot of people would be daunting. How do you handle that as a entrepreneur going down a path that's never been done before? Like, where would you even begin trying to build something of such nature, right? Talk to me about the process.
Fundamentally, like the insanity, the scale here is the appeal for me, right? I mean, I'll get a little bit kind of like messianic here for a moment, right? I'm trying to build the most watched sport in history, and I think we're going to get there, right? And the reality is, what I'm doing today is crawl, walk, run, right? I'm talking about uncrewed satellites racing in space. Drone Racing League just happens to be in orbit, right? And the beauty of that is it's intrinsically doable. It's doable with today's technology. Again, it's all readily available, but that's not where we're going to stop. Obviously, right? Like what I want to do is go prove out the content production capabilities in space so I can go do a whole bunch of other stuff, including eventually humans racing in space. And the first time humans race in space, it's going to be the most watched sporting event in the history of sports. I will die on that hill, right? So that's the appeal, right? Is going after something that's truly fundamentally massive, right? And we can get there in time with really understandable bite-sized milestones where we can go off and go do things that are realistic on a realistic timeline to build the foundation to go off and go do the crazy stuff down the road. So I love that. From how do I wrap my mind around actually going and doing this? That's the even more insane part of this, is that because of what I've done professionally, right? I was the CEO at a space-based optics company for the last 2.5 years before I exited to do this. I've done all the things necessary to go off and go do that. And for the life of me, I can't pretend that I did that intentionally, that I went and created this experience and skill set to go off and go do this. But actually executing race operations in space is arguably the easy thing. I can do that with my eyes closed. The hard part for me is translating it into something that is a visual language and an emotional connection with my fans, right? Because sports is emotional, sports is human. And I've got really sexy, attractive, fast refrigerators in space. Arguably that wouldn't succeed on its own. So we have to create an emotional connection, right? We have to go do the sports stocks that are going to follow along with our teams over starting in January, the first, the 18 months leading up to the first races in space. We're going to go visit our teams every single month and interview the crazy CEO billionaires and the, program managers that are ripping their hair out because their tech's not working, and the engineers that are like in a clean room, wearing a bunny suit, turning wrenches. We're going to tell the human story. So when we get to the things in space going and doing really cool stuff, people have a connection to it. That's really the challenge. And that's where I've been out at sports events and media events, basically nonstop travel for the last 3.5 months to go off and go kind of like indoctrinate myself into how content generation, sports media, tech, entertainment work, so that I have the best of the industry to go support that, because I will fail immediately if I can't leverage the best of kind of media production as part of this, because the storytelling is the challenge. It's not the execution. The execution's done, dusted. Everyone's done it. We know how to do it. I just need to go pay for it.
Is the storytelling the challenge because of the distribution of getting the word out there of something unique? That's the hard part, because you've never done it. So it's like, that's the issue.
I mean, to be fair, we're out kissing babies and shaking hands, and I'm on every podcast I can possibly get on at this point, right? So certainly we need to go build that audience. I'd say without specifics that we have a path to a major broadcast opportunity that's going to be filming in a month. So we're looking very, very good for having, exposure to millions of people near term, which is great, right? And that's just pure earned media. And we need to go off and go do that. We need to continue to do it and build on it and use it as the base upon which we can go release early content, right? Explainer videos, like explanations, more podcasts, some of the early kind of sports stock stuff that we're able to go off and go do. All of that stuff is forthcoming, but that's a challenge, right? I got to go get people excited about it. However, I'm also salient to the reality that I think once this is happening, it will be attention grabbing in its own right because of the novelty of what it is that we're actually going to go off and go do. So I'm not really worried today. The company's 3.5 months old. I'm not super worried today if I've got, X number of Instagram followers. I don't care. I'm not even posting content on there right now. Like that's not my priority. My priority is executing on the business. That's signing up partners. We've got a couple dozen partners already signed up. It's signing up teams. We've got 2 committed, got a third this morning who said they want to fly. We got a couple other under negotiation. It's about getting these earned media opportunities. It's about building out my advisory board, my tech stack, all these things that we have to go off and go do to go be realistic and demonstrate to my investors that I can go off and go do this, and I can do it with real tech that's available today. That's important. The fan base will come, and it'll come a lot more easily once I have content to go show them. We're just, again, 3.5 months old and don't have it yet. So.
What would you say in 3.5 months? That's phenomenal. Like you've already made so much progress. What would you say is your target demographic for this new sport? Are you targeting more of there has to be some sort of age group. Like if you look at the UFC, there's a certain demographic that they go after. It's not the grandmas of the world. Who do you think would be most interested in your ideal scenario? Who would be your ideal viewer?
Yeah, I mean, it depends on time, right? So if we're talking about company in the next 2 to 3 years, very different than company in 3 to 5 years.
Let's start 2 to 3.
Of course, yeah. So that's going to be pretty straightforward. That's the 18 to 34-year-old male demo, right? So basically, those people that are out there where this year for the first time will be consuming 52% is the estimate of their sports media content in short format through social and mobile platforms. That is wild. When I first had this idea 5-6 years ago, that number was about 7% of their content was social and mobile. Now this year, for the first time, it's going to be the majority is social and mobile. That allows us to go build to be native for a new platform that basically allows us to take long format sport, break it into a bunch of vignettes, and distribute that through social, mobile, and proprietary web and app portals. And it lets us go do ad sales and all those fan activations, 5 times a day, 365 days a year, not just Saturday afternoons at 2 p.m. for 2 hours in the stadium. That's a total shift in how sports thinks about fan activation, one. Then two, right? So that kind of makes sense, right? It's like, younger male, tech-oriented, educated, some disposable income. It's the same demographic that kind of helped guide F1 towards its ascendancy, right? Now, as we move forward, though, I think that there's an absolute opportunity here to have a global sport and one that has an emotional connectivity for effectively everyone. And then I'm going to get a little weird here about kind of the history of how space has been in the social zeitgeist, but it has been in the social zeitgeist, and it's been an immutable part of the social zeitgeist for a very, very long time. If you look at the 10 most watched broadcasts of all time, 2 through 10 are Super Bowls, obviously enough. Number 1 is the moon landing. Right. There's something about space that draws attention and has drawn attention for a very long time. The caves at Lascaux have Orion's belt plastered all over the walls. Right. We've had Van Gogh's Starry Night. We've had the Earthrise image from Apollo was, cathartic to the environmental movement. Space imagery is phenomenally compelling and has a very visceral emotional connection to people across the planet. It doesn't matter where you are. But our first press release actually performed substantially better outside of the US than it did in the US. So we see a really interesting potential here where that very human connection to the cosmos, what we are, where we are, what we're doing in this world connects to pure entertainment, right? A format of racing entertainment that is tried and true and trusted, right? It's, been done a million times. We're not recreating it. It's fast, expensive things going fast. And I think that is going to open up the aperture. Once we get to the point of actual regular race operations and content distribution, there's going to be a natural organic curve there. And I think that's going to happen inevitably.
The 18 to 35-year-old target market, have you considered some sort of push in the, obviously a lot of followers of mine are in the cryptocurrency industry, the blockchain space, and it's literally your demographic. Have you considered anything towards capturing their interest or a go-to-market strategy?
Yeah, certainly. So we just 2 weeks ago kicked off our initial sponsor outreach. So crypto as a vertical on that is actually very interesting. And a lot of larger names in crypto have also been very active from a sports marketing perspective. I think there's good synergies there. So very much. I'd say also that historically, I'm not the first person to have this idea, right? Sports in space has been bandied about by a bunch of people over the years. I'm going to be the first one to actually do it and do it in a realistic way, but I'm not the first person to have the idea. In fact, people have pitched the idea of pairing racing with using the race activity as something that is integrated into or supportive of certain blockchain functionalities. There's been some exploration on the technical side into that in the past as well. So I love that idea. I think we also are looking at potentially bringing on a head of new media and a fractional role in the near term to support some of the other fractionals that we've got engaged already. And that person would be to, kind of go connect with the Kick and Twitch streamers of the world to go off and go kind of connect us to that core demo. So yes, I mean, direct outreach within crypto universe, very interesting to us, as well as a whole bunch of other things in that kind of new media environment.
Yeah, it's very interesting. It's not every day I get to speak. And that's actually one of the reasons why I wanted to bring you on, because it's not every day. I mean, on my show, I talk to innovator builders. This is a show about AI, apps, tech, keyword tech, on-chain, and you fit in the tech category because you're, innovating the path that's never been seen. What's your end goal? Talk to me. And then realistically, is it to create something that outlasts you and generations to come and being the pioneer? Is that what drives you to create Atlas Cup?
Yeah, I mean, very much. It's truly legacy driven, right? I mean, on my desk next to me right here actually is a picture of my great grandfather in front of the Model T in Kalispell, Montana, where he was digging oil wells across the West. He was an oil wildcatter. And this guy basically traveled the West, digging wells and getting chased out of town when the wells went dry and his investors lost their money. And, basically the classic Western entrepreneur story. And over time, he did really well. And that's been a big influence in my life, right? That idea of like the Western mentality of go and make your own thing and have it serve future generations. That is really important, which is why, again, the scale of this is really attractive to me. If I was just trying to start another startup in space, and I don't know, I'm going to go build a different camera system that's slightly different than every other camera system and go market it. Cool. I'm sure I could go figure out how to go do that, but I don't want to do that. I want to do something that's truly dramatically different. And there's also good here, right? It's not just egotistical. Hey, I want to go do something so I get to be the guy who did X. Sure, there's a little bit of that. That's very human. But it's also about what this can do for the world. And again, I'll sound a little messianic again, right? I think there is an opportunity here to do for the space industry what professional racing did for automotive in its early days. And the space industry, again, has had this really dramatic acceleration in infrastructural capabilities of the industrial base, but it is still early days. And I think if you look at the history of industrialization of the automobile, in the early 20th century, we saw racing be really beneficial, right? It created new technologies that then became integrated into the average car. It created new technologies faster. It accelerated the pace of technological innovation. It also created quality systems and predictability in the supply chain. These are things that are all really, really important for space. And I think a competitive environment can kind of inculcate that type of activity in the space industry. And I think that would be broadly good. And if it's good for the space industry, it's going to be good for us on Earth, because fundamentally, all the things that space does for Earth are good, right? I mean, I've launched satellites that count tuna in the South China Sea and look for wildfires in Canada, right? I mean, these are good, tangible things for us that arguably can be made better, faster, stronger, smarter if we create this culture of excellence and this drive towards championship mentality that racing has done so well in other industries. Let's apply that to space and then see the good result.
I mean, I want a front row ticket to this. I feel like, if there's anything I could do to like witness this firsthand, document, hey, when you actually get something up there, remember me. Remember the 3,000 plus people tuning in for this, and I'll document this for free, man. Like I think it'll be really cool. So we got to wrap things up though, Philip. But any last words that you have for the community about Atlas Cup?
Stay tuned. So lots more to come, right? Starting in January, we're going to start rolling out a lot of our behind the scenes content, telling the story of leading up to racing. Racing starts mid 2028, ending in a championship end of 28. We're looking to do in-person events around the conclusion of racing. So we're trying to find an immersive environment, think a Sphere or Cosm, where we can put 5,000 people somewhere kind of like in this immersive space environment to actually see these things happen. So lots of cool stuff coming, a whole bunch of really interesting announcements that are already done and baked, but not yet public. So more and more to come. Check out the website, join the newsletter, follow us on social, all the things.
What's the best social they can follow you on?
Yeah, sure. So Atlas Cup Official on X, at Atlas Cup on Instagram, www.atlascup.com for web. Easy enough to find. You can pretty much just Google space racing and you'll find us in about 2 seconds.
Yeah, so I'll make sure we follow each other as well. And once this episode's done, a few hours, we'll have some clips made as well for this episode. We'll share it to your community because that's how we grow Evergreen. Philip, pleasure to meet you, man.
Yeah, love it. Thanks so much for having me on. Really appreciate it.
No
Thanks.
Problem. All right, Philip Hoover. Very, very cool. I love the innovation. I love the just doing new things, man. And that's what you get on Late Night on Base. We bring the best of AI, apps, tech, and on-chain. You won't find this anywhere else, guys. Just straight up, you just won't. Appreciate each and every one of you. We got over 3,300 people tuning in. So we'll do this again tomorrow, same time. Actually, no, tomorrow we have a different time, so we'll do that. And then starting the week after, dude, this show's cooking too much. I gotta properly monetize this thing. I think we're providing way too much value for companies. And your boy needs to figure out how we capitalize on this, because I don't think you're going to find a better show, man. Just don't think you're going to find a better show. The amount of value I provide, we cooking. But I do appreciate you. I do appreciate our sponsor, Swap Royale. Till next time, everyone. Cheers.